I'd just like to start by saying a massive thank you to our speaker for giving up this Friday night. We're going to have a quick chat about his career, in particular the last 10 years, really. And at the end, the audience can ask any questions they may have. Corey, Patrick, Wilhelm, Greulich, Smith. How would you get Billy out of that?
It's one of them where I've just been called Billy all my life. No idea why. It's something my mum used to do. And as soon as I was legally able to, I just changed it legally to Billy, so I didn't have that awkward thing at school where they always say me wrong name whenever in the first day of school.
The next question, how old were you when you learned to write your name?
Still can't write now, man. I can't even remember when I realised my name wasn't Billy, to be honest. It's just one of them when it came up at school. And I don't even remember being a thing, really. But like I said, as soon as I could, changed it legally so I could just go by Billy. A bit easier, less of a mouthful.
And you know, Dennis still doesn't know it's Billy.
I know, yeah.
Can you tell us about your youth football, Billy? You were with all of Watford, Sunderland, Middlesbrough and Luton.
Yeah, so obviously I grew up in London. We lived there for 10 years. So that during that time I played for a team called Barnet Youth Eagles. So that's where I lived in Barnet, North London. During that time I got trials in Watford and played there a little bit. But before I really got anywhere too far, we moved up to the northeast. And I was just playing local football. I ended up getting scouted by Middlesbrough. I was there for 4 years. We won a few tournaments. We won a tournament in Portugal. We beat teams like AC Milan and Sporting Lisbon's teams like that.
That's my next question.
That's your next one, sorry. I got released from Middlesbrough for being too small when I was 14.
Never too small.
And then that's when I ended up at Sunderland for 2 years. That's when I grew, so scored a few goals against Middlesbrough as well, so it's been nice in a way, and I support Sunderland as well, so it's a nice time to be there as well.
So you've just mentioned it, you represented Borough in a tournament in Estoril in Portugal. You were 11, is that right? Against clubs such as AC Milan, Benfica. Borough got to the final, it went to a penalty shootout, so do you want to tell us what happened from there?
Yeah, so we played, obviously it was in Portugal, we played Porto, we played Sporting Lisbon, beat AC Milan 1-0 I think it was. And then we actually got a team called Huelva in the final, a Spanish team. And only family came to watch. They came over to Portugal, quite a few families did. Obviously went to penalty shootout, and it was a best of 3, and I don't think everyone in the crowd knew that. But I was taking the third penalty, and I scored it, and we all went wild. The referee made me take it again, because they said the keeper wasn't ready. So obviously I had to try and take it again, and I just put it in the top corner again. We went wild again. Man on the pitch.
You say it, right? Yeah, the game you went up the barrier and invaded the pitch. And embarrassed you a little bit.
Yeah, well, I didn't even.
Marcus last got banned for that.
So yeah, that was a good experience as well. It was the same year Borough won the League Cup as well. So we had like a parade with them. So it was good to be, obviously at that age when you look at the professional footballers, it's like starstruck a little bit. So it was really nice to be around them at that time.
Was that like under 13s or under 12s or something like that?
Something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Did Ben Bowen in charge of that?
You what, sorry?
Was Ben Bowen in charge of that?
No, our coaches we had Paul Dalton. I think he was at Man United when he was younger. I can't remember the other lad.
See, Ben Bowen was in charge of all the youth thing at Middlesbrough, and he actually said that David Atkinson was the worst trainer he's ever seen.
Really? We had Ron Bowen there when I was there.
That's maybe what I'm talking about. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
So yeah, he's the one who scouted us, Ron Bowen. We had Dave Barnaby there as well. So it was obviously it's a great experience winning that tournament. It's something that's stayed with us since I've been there, basically.
And after a spell at Brandon United in the Northern League, you signed a professional contract with Hartlepool. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was actually at Brandon twice, so I was playing, before I went to Luton I was at Brandon, I was at college as well. I was actually playing for Brandon Reserves, our youth team, in the morning, and having to play for the first team in the afternoon because we had no players. So I was I was absolutely not over how I was doing it. Ended up getting to Luton from there, had to move down there for a year. They had all their financial trouble, so they ended up getting rid of all their playing staff at the time. So everyone left, and then came back up to Brandon again, had a whole season there. And I remember Sunderland last year actually tried to sign me at the end of the season. So I had a sort of like a toss-up between Sunderland last year and Hartlepool. So luckily I chose Hartlepool because it was a lot better experience. And obviously it's a dream to play football professionally. And although it was only for 2 years, and it was no disrespect, but it was only Hartlepool compared to what it could have been. It was still like the best 2 years that I've had in football.
You made your debut in a 1-0 home win over Tranmere Rovers. Do you remember much about that?
Yeah, I remember I nearly scored with my first touch. Just the pass was just an inch too far in front of us. But yeah, it was one of them dream come true moments again. It was a game that we won, and it's just like everything just came flooding to us at the same time. It was just quite a surreal moment. Managed to play a few more games here and there, so it's really good to be involved with stuff like that, really.
You signed a second contract, but when that ended, you weren't offered a new one, and you were released. That must have been pretty disappointing because you were still just a young lad at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I think it was more like I felt a bit unlucky more than anything because actually that pre-season, it was Chris Turner was the manager at the time. He started me in the first pre-season game, so I thought, I've got a good chance of progressing. I had a little target in my head that I wanted to try and achieve. And starting the first game was going towards that target, and then the end of pre-season I tore all the ligaments in my ankle. I was out for 6 months. During that time Chris Turner resigned. We had a new manager come in and he said, I can't give you a deal, I've not seen you play, basically. So it was one of them where who knows what might have happened if I'd managed not to get injured at the end of pre-season.
And you then joined Durham City. How did you come to sign for them?
Well, when I left Hartlepool, I signed with an agent, and he got me trials at, I went down to TNS in the Welsh League, like the Welsh champions. I went down there, went to like Blythe and clubs like that, but to be honest I was more looking at what I could do next if football didn't work out, so I enrolled in uni, so I had something to fall back on, just worst case scenario. And it's getting to a stage where I was getting offered trials elsewhere, but it's like, I'm at uni now, I don't want to jeopardise, take 2-3 weeks out of uni for a trial where I might not get anything out of it, sort of thing. So I just wanted to keep myself ticking over, really. Went to Durham. Problem with Durham a little bit was if you weren't sort of best mates with the manager at the time, you weren't really playing. So I remember I got dropped for one game because a lad had more experience than me. He was 3 months older than me. So, and I played professionally as well. So it was a bit one of them where it was a big game. I think it was FC United of Manchester in the cup, and they were the league above. They bring like loads of fans. It was all the Man United people bringing flares and everything. And it was like, he's a bit older than you. He's going to play this game. I was like, right, okay then. I think from then on, I wasn't really enjoying my time there, to be honest.
They brought flares because that's what they wore last time. They won something.
Probably was, yeah.
Do you follow the fortunes of the clubs you played for? Because it's quite sad what's happened to Durham, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I don't like to see what's up. Like, obviously, I keep an eye out for the results, but I did at the time. Obviously, they got beat a few times quite heavily last season, so it wasn't nice to see. But it is a shame what's happened to them, and I hope they can find their way back to where they were.
You left Durham and came to the biggest and best club of your career. How did it come about you couldn't sign official?
Well, obviously Gary Forrest was the manager at the time. I didn't realise, but he actually rang me to try and sign me after I'd left Hartlepool, because when he rang us, his name was saved in my phone. But I didn't have any idea who he was at the time, obviously. But yeah, it was one of them. I was happy sort of staying at Durham. Because the level we were playing at sort of was a bit higher at the time. And I didn't really mind the travel while I was at university, because I didn't really have many like things keeping me home. But I sort of wanted to play regularly, and I wanted to sort of play in my position, which was I was playing like right or left midfield at the time. I know I'm used to playing there now, but I was coming in as a striker, and that's where I played for the first 4 or 5 years of my time here. And it was a chance to just play football, enjoy football again. I knew a couple of the lads. I played with Ben Wood before, and I knew he was signing. And Josh Home Jackson came with us from Durham, although he was only here for 2 or 3 games. But at least I knew people coming here. Davy Gordon I knew as well, who was here at the time. So I thought, well, I'll just come here, enjoy my football, see what happens. And then I haven't left for 10 years, so I must have enjoyed it.
I remember well the first time I met you. I mean, I say we met you, we weren't introduced, but I was kick man. It was in the dressing room at Newton Native. I don't think you were involved that day, were you?
No, so we had a Challenge Cup game. I remember it was Cliff away. Gaz hadn't told us that we were playing away, so I was trying for hours to find my way here. I eventually got here because I was getting lost. I've never been this deep in Durham before. Trying for ages to get here, and there's just no lights on, so I ring Gaz and he's like in the dressing room at Aycliffe saying, "Oh, it's at Aycliffe, I should have told you, shouldn't I?" I was like, it would have been helpful. So it took me another hour to try and find where Aycliffe is, something I've never heard of before, pretty much. So I'm sure we won that game as well. I think Stevie Johnson scored a couple of goals or something. But it was just nice to meet all the lads, and it was a bit less pressure because obviously I was there just to watch and meet the lads. So it was a nice way to do it. Just wish I hadn't took 5 hours to get here.
I can also remember that you didn't say a word.
No. That's something that's come with just go stop that. Just growing a bit. I think I was quite anxious when I was younger, so worried about what I was saying and who I was talking to, and if I didn't know people, I was quite quiet. But no, I just get to the stage where I'm like, well, what's the point? I may as well just crack on with everyone.
You're our longest serving player, mate, and you have been for quite a few years. Everyone that comes to Shildon loves it here, so what is it about our football club that people like?
It's a tough one, really. I think each season it seems our dressing room seems to get better and better, and we've got better lads in there, sort of thing. Like everyone gets on so well, and part of that's down with the players that the management brings in. I think they seem to get the right attitudes to come in, and whenever there's been someone who hasn't had the right attitude, they've quickly decided it's not for them, or if they've not been playing, maybe they just sort of wanted to leave rather than fight for it. But I think the lads we've got at the moment, if they're not playing, they do just want the team to win more than anything, rather than to have like individual accolades, sort of thing. So I've always been more of a team player. So I know when I came, I didn't score for a few games, but I was playing every game, and I think it's because I was bringing more to the team. I just wanted the team to win. And these days I maybe score more than I did at the time, but be all in all is you want the team to win. You want them to win every game. So that's the main thing, really. And I think the group we've got at the moment, that's what they want.
And over the last 10 years, you've scored 170-ish goals. Do you have a favourite one from those 170s?
It's a tough one, really. I think obviously the goal at the Stadium of Light was a big one for me, because obviously I'm a Sunderland fan. I touched the ball once all game, and that was to score the header, pretty much. So I don't know how I managed to jump up and head it, to be honest. I was absolutely not good. So that probably because of the meaning for it as well. Obviously South Shields have been a bit like noisy beforehand, and moaning about what dressing rooms to be in and stuff like that. Like we weren't bothered where we were going to be staying, but they seemed to be wanted to be certain places. I don't know. So it was a good one to, with everything that was going, it was a good one to get through. I liked my goal against Stirling Bridge when we won 1-0, and that was another big game because they were.
I missed that. I was away on holiday.
Yeah, you missed a good one. It's one of the only games we don't seem to have videoed as well, so I'm never going to see it probably. But it was just, again, they were 2-3 leagues above us, and we beat them 1-0. It was just FA Cup, magically FA Cup type of goal, wasn't it? Yeah, and then obviously the goals against Spennymoor were big ones in the Challenge Cup final when we won that one. They weren't the best to go. I mean, the header was alright, but the other one wasn't the best because I thought it was offside. But the meaning of it is so big, and the first thing we've won here for a while, or certainly the first thing I'd won. So it was, I think the importance of them goals as well was really big as well. So I enjoyed them ones.
You've just answered my next question. I mentioned the last time we spoke, one of my favourite personal goals of yours was the one in the Durham Challenge Cup final versus Spennymoor at Billy Sinner's ground. Go and talk us through it, Billy.
Which one of them?
The header. The header was a good one, wasn't it?
I remember because obviously Paul Connor had been playing up front most of the season, so I think it was his wedding. So I think Gaz says, "Oh, well, you're going to be starting up front through the middle," and I was like, "Well, champion, I'm through the middle. I'm not out wide. I've got a chance to like make a name for myself, sort of thing. Get a chance to win the game." And I remember moaning on, saying, "Oh, he's moved us out to the left again. Don't want to be out on the left." And Stephen Capper was there. He was playing left back or right back for them, and he was like, "Well, I don't want you out here." And I was like, "I know, but I'm just sick of being pushed out wide." And then I was just sort of floating from side to side. But I know as soon as Jamie Howard gets the ball, he's going to try and put some sort of cross in, or he's going to try that silly little drag back that he loves.
Silly little drag.
It works every time. Doesn't it? He doesn't want to do it in the testimonial because he'll get a kick.
He'll probably be saying that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I could tell he was going to cross it, and I noticed their right back had been going down with cramp quite a lot. Carl Griff, he'd been going down with cramp quite a lot, so I thought, well, I'll just pull off on him a bit because he's not going to be able to jump. Even if he could jump, probably won't be able to get very high. And luckily, it just went straight to my head, and I've definitely let Kyle Hayes know a few times about that goal going in because he was in goal at the time. And it was just felt like pandemonium after on the pitch, and obviously it was like 7 minutes to go or something like that. So I was like, right, we've got a chance here, and they're not doing too much now. We've got a chance to get a win, but at least we've got extra time if we don't get another goal.
People say you're a big game player because you always score goals in the big games. How many cup final goals have you scored for Shildon? I've asked you this before and you told me straight away.
Yeah, it's been a while. Is it 5?
I don't know the answer to
Is it
that.
6? I'm not sure. I know I scored. Oh, it might be 6. You know, yeah, it is 6.
And another one of my favourites of yours, you strike at the shed end at Heritage Park against Aycliffe in the League Cup. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, at Bishop, yeah, in that League Cup, yeah, sorry, yeah, I do
They
remember that
played at
one.
Heritage Park, right?
Yeah. I don't know what Aycliffe's ground goal could be honest, could be that. Yeah, I remember because it usually comes up on my Facebook memories whenever that goes in, and I always watch it back again because I just seem to catch it well. It's just again, it was one of them again. I think we were expected to win that one, unlike some of the other cup finals, because I know a lot of their players were cup tied, so they couldn't play in that game. They're big name players, and I think we were a bit frustrated the first half. We couldn't really get many chances in that, but look, we managed to get a couple of goals in the second half and get another cup for the club.
You're a bit of a practical joker on the quiet, aren't you? Is it right when you were very young, you'd crawl on the floor and tie people's shoulders together?
Yeah,
It's not embarrassing, that's all.
No, it's just like having a laugh. I remember at heart, but I think they probably hated us at heart, but when I was injured for that 6 months, I went in the youth team's dressing room. There's a few, Shea Little was in the youth team at the time, and I pulled all their shoelaces out and like tied them up across all the dressing room like washing line, and I hung all their clothes up and then just claimed it was. I just said it wasn't me. I don't know if he knows, so if you
You know now.
So yeah, there's a few lads who play in the Northern League who were there at the time, so I often bring it up again, but it was just keep me busy because I was just literally in the gym all the time, just trying to get back fit again, so I didn't need to do something.
Have you ever had any big practical jokes played on you? Can I prompt you? Do you remember your first ever car?
Mm-hmm.
You went to turn the tarty pole with it, parked it up, went back and it wasn't there.
Oh yeah, Colin Larkin that was.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, my handbrake broke on my car, so it was just free to be pushed around the car park basically. So yeah, it was not where I left it when I got there, and it had loads of twigs in it.
It's in the middle of a field, isn't it?
You what, sorry?
It's in the middle of a field.
No, it wasn't that bad. It was just in a different car park. They were joined, so I could find it quite quick. I was a bit shocked at the start, but I'd never commit theft of a motor vehicle to do any practical jokes.
You've already mentioned this, but I mean, I'm guessing that that night at the Stadium Light's the highlight of your career. What's it like to score the winning goal in a cup final at the Stadium Light?
Honestly, like, it was the best thing ever. Like, everyone who knows me knows how much it meant to me. Like, in my friends' inbox at school and on Facebook and stuff like that, my friends will just put that in every now and then just to say, "Oh, remember when you did this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then the whole weekend was great. Like, Bobby nearly ended up taking us to Benidorm on the night because he was buzzing. He was like, "No, look, it's only $1,000 for us to go just one night." And like, Bobby, we're not going to Benidorm. We've got the presentation even at the morning. He's like, no, it'll be fine. But luckily, sense prevailed, and we were here on the Saturday for the presentation evening. And Sunday we had our end of season do in York as well, so it was a good weekend. That was.
And what was your goal celebration all about that night?
I don't even know. I don't even know that.
Did I do it? No.
No, I can't. No. It's trademark. I did it.
Something like that.
Yeah, I did it against Benfield early on in the season, and I don't know. I think I did it on a night out for some reason. And then I just thought I'd whack it out at the Stadium Light. Why not? But yeah, I've had like friends who I don't really know too much who have seen the dance, try and replicate it on nights out when they've seen us and stuff like that. Went a little bit viral in Sunderland.
So how does a person who doesn't drink celebrate a big cup win?
I mean, I still go out and dance around. I never used to be able to go on a night out really because I'd be convinced that people are watching us and stuff like that or judging us, and then I just suddenly one day I was just like, well, who cares if they're watching, who cares if they're judging, like they're going to think I'm good crack or they're going to be too drunk to realise what I'm doing in the morning, so it doesn't really matter.
So how do you go for a night out with all those lunatics and all of them absolutely bladdered? You stone cold sober. How would you put up with them?
I'm the last one out, man. They're all in bed by 12 o'clock, and I'm still dancing. Yeah, that's it really. I just go out and it's just a laugh really. The drunker they get, the funnier they get. So it's all good really. But yeah, I'm usually one of the last ones out, to be honest, and then I can just drive home afterwards, so I don't have to waste money on a taxi.
So back to the cup final. There was 700 Shildon fans there that night. Were the players aware of the noise they were making?
A bit of a weird one. So while you're playing, obviously you're so invested in the game, you can't really hear the crowd. But as soon as the ball goes out of play or there's a stop and play, you really do hear the crowd. And honestly, when the goal went in, like deafening, like I don't know, I've never heard loud cheering.
That's just what you know.
But yeah, it was just surreal how it carried on the whole stadium. And I think it was just more relief than anything because everyone's seen us defending for 60 odd minutes, and to get a goal was just a relief. We'd rather shot on target basically. Yeah.
What was the build-up like for that game? Did your squad do anything together before the game, or did you just turn up like a normal match?
It was a weird one as well because obviously we finished the season like 3 weeks before the final. So we were meeting like twice a week to train just to keep ourselves ticking over. But most of them who were playing there, like a lot of their academy lads who train 3-4 times a week, so we knew that they were going to be a lot fitter, a lot sharper, and then the lads that have got coming from the first team was going to have that quality. So we were just basically trying to train a couple of times a week, and then I think we went for a meal like a couple of days beforehand. A few of the new lads had to do their sing-song, and then it was like a Friday night, so it was a good time to do it because you had the whole weekend to celebrate afterwards. Got to the stadium nice and early just to take it in and everything like that. You sort of forget about all of that once, because obviously afterwards was so good, you sort of forget what the build-up was a little bit. But it was all around a good day, to be honest.
You must have quite a few medals now. Have you got them on display, or are they just all chucked in a drawer?
I have a little cabinet, but it's not really on display. It's sort of like I need a place for it because it's got all the Shildon stuff basically, and all the stuff that I've got when I was younger as well. And then there's just some dotted around all over the place. But not really organised at the moment, to be honest.
Do you have any medals that you value above all the others?
I mean, to be fair, the Northern League Player of the Season one was quite a big one for me. That was more of a shock than anything that I'd even nominated for it, and to get it was like amazing really. Coupled that with how we won the league that year as well, it was just a good season all round, to be honest. But yeah, probably that one. But any medal I've won, I value quite highly because it shows that we've been successful basically.
And the lowest point in your career, I'm guessing maybe the night at Bedlington or the Vase semi-final?
Probably the Bedlington one, yeah. I was more, felt more anger really, because to be honest, they'd just been giving up in every game. And for them to literally defend like the lives on the line for a pointless game for them, really, I felt a bit like you've rolled over for Celtic Nation like 6-0 on the other day, and then you literally fight for your lives for no real point. So it was more a bit. Obviously, I was upset. I was a bit, but we had plenty of chances to get that extra point throughout the season, so it's not all labelled at them at all. It was just flood of emotions. My car broke down on the way home as well. So, well, some it hit off the bottom of it, and
wasn't the same one from Hartlepool, was it?
Probably, no. Yeah, so it was just like, I don't know how this day could have got anywhere. I mean, I scored in that game as well, so it just shows how disappointing I was that like I just completely forget most of the time that I actually scored in that one. But look, we were able to remedy it the next season and win the league, and ultimately you're not really going to be too bothered at the end of the season. We can say we've won the Northern League, it doesn't really matter how many times you've won it, to be honest.
You've had a few injuries over the years. I mean, you could give other players advice on returning from injury, couldn't you? You always return better than ever.
I still think I haven't found my best form since my Achilles injury. I think that's coupled with probably me changing work circumstances. I've had to dedicate quite a lot to that. So maybe my rehab training has been put on the back burner slightly. But yeah, I don't really seem to get many niggly injuries, just more I get like a serious injury every couple of years, which there's not much I can do about. Because obviously my former job was a personal trainer, so I could keep track of all my niggly injuries like that, or manage them quite well. But the serious ones you can't really cater for. But I always try my best to come back, and it's more because I hate watching because I feel like there's nothing I can do to help, especially if I'm not on the bench. If I'm on the bench, if I can come on and maybe do something here or there. If I'm watching and I'm injured, it's a nightmare really, because there's nothing you can do. Having said that, this season when I've been injured, I felt a lot more confident in the team. Like we seem to, I don't want to say miss me less, but like we seem to be able to grind through games whenever there's anyone missing. Obviously we've had times this season where we've only had 11 fit players and we've managed to get wins in the league above where we were last season, so I think it just shows the character of our team at the moment.
Have you ever met royalty, Billy?
I have, yeah. We both, me and my sister over here, we met the Queen when she opened the Tyne Tunnel.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know, I was expecting you to say no.
No, she wanted to come watch a Shildon game, but
You couldn't get her a ticket?
yeah. No, it was. So my mum she was head of like PR on the new Tyne Tunnel that got built. So she organised for the Queen to come to open it, and she needed a flower girl on both sides for some reason. I was overlooked for that job. Giselle got it, and I got roped in as a bodyguard. So I basically stood next to her while she gave the Queen some flowers.
Didn't you once dress as an African prince? Have your photo taken with a genuine African prince? You went home, you didn't even tell your family. You found out when you saw your picture in the silver Lego.
You find these things out, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I never used to tell anyone. I never used to speak to anyone. Pretty much we were walking through Sunderland city centre, and an African guy in full prince attire came up to me and was like, "Oh, it's Billy, isn't it?" And I was like,
He's a Shildon fan.
Who are you? Yeah. I didn't recognise who it was.
Lives next to me on the estate.
Obviously, then it's just like, yeah, well, I'll see you later, look after yourself. And I was like, right. And then my dad was like, who was that? And I was like, oh, I dressed up as a prince at school with these African people. We got our picture taken in the paper, and he didn't ask about it, so I didn't tell him. He didn't ask the right questions, so I got the right answers. Yeah.
Moving on then. What's your thoughts on our first season of the Northern Premier League?
Yeah, it's got to be seen as a success, really. I think, obviously, we know the Northern League's a strong league, because you see when a club comes up, they usually do well in the league above. I thought we'd do quite well anyway. Obviously, there's going to be some teams. I think when we played Tadcaster in the FA Cup a couple of years back, and they seemed really good. So I thought it might be tougher than I'm thinking. And I remember Bobby saying, "I just want to quietly go about our business this season, just stay under the radar, this and that." Obviously, we win the first game 4-0, go top of the league. Silently go top of the league, and didn't look back since. Obviously, we had a little dip in form, and we had over Christmas when we had a lot of players missing, and I think that bounce that we got when we got promoted sort of faded a little bit. So we sort of had to really show our character to sort of get back to good form. We had injuries in key areas. I think when you're missing Shea Little, David Atkinson, centre midfielder, you do notice it.
14 red cards didn't help with it.
I mean, the red cards were really more at the start of the season when we were still winning loads of games and we were suffering on with like 11, 12 players. Like, we were still winning games. I remember, like, we had Shea and Trotter at one stage, both with 4-game bans, and we sort of just soldiered on and we did really well. I think it was just the run of fixtures we had were tough after Christmas, I think. In a lot of the games we were unlucky in those games. I think the Stockton one, they've hit the post once and they've scored. I think we had more than enough chances to win that game, but away from home. But the end of it was, once we got after Christmas, we weren't going to finish in the top 2. Obviously, for us, we had that sort of target. Why not aim for the top 2? They're not a million miles away. But after that, we were just like, we'll just stay in the playoffs. We've done so well so far. We've got to at least have the playoffs to look forward to afterwards. And we more than got over the line with that in the end. Beat some big teams on the way to it. Beating Worksop, beating Cleethorpes. So you got to say it was a success. And be fair, proud of all the lads, because everyone's put the work in this season, and we've got sort of rewarded with a good finish.
And the playoff, I know Mass were the better team on the night, but we were still in it right up to the point when Kirk got sent off, weren't we?
Yeah, again, the winning goal was a very fluky goal. I don't know what quite happened for the first goal, because he just seemed to let the guy who scored 50 goals, he was just completely unmarked. I don't know, I think it was just someone's sort of got attracted to the ball or something, and it's just dropped to him as well. I think that's happened quite a lot. Like, he's got a lot of goals from it just dropping to him. But like, we showed our character again. We showed what character we've got against such a good team. To straight away go up the other end and get another goal back. Take the extra time. I think the yellow cards are quite harsh, especially the first one, because he's slipped over and fell onto the ball, and he's given me a yellow card for handball. It's a tough one, really, because even their second goal, like, I was marking the lad and I've played the ball onto his foot and it's bounced off Jack, bounced off Sean, gone in. It's like, it's one of them where don't get me wrong, they deserve to go up massively, but I think we were really unlucky not to at least take the penalties. It's one of them things. We've done really well to get there anyway.
And for the forthcomings? For the fourth?
Nope.
Oh, what's that one? I think we've got a battery problem.
That worked.
For the forthcoming season, we've got a new management team. I know there's not much they can do at the moment, but how have they come across to you?
Yeah, spot on. They seem very professional and they seem to know what they're doing. Obviously, a lot of the lads know them already. I know of them, but I don't know them like personally. But I've spoken to Jamie quite a few times over the off season, and he seems seems to be a nice, genuine man. He seems to know what he wants to bring and how he wants to get his point across. Dino as well seems very knowledgeable about what he's doing. And it'd just be interesting to see what happens when we start back training and see where we go from that, really.
Got a red flashing light on me, Mike. We've kept the bulk of the squad. I mean, most of them are contracted and had to stay, but are you happy to stay?
Yeah, I think, like I said, that everyone gets on so well, and no one wants to leave that group, really. We had our end of season do in Benidorm, and that, I think, brought everyone closer more than anything. There were a few states over there, to be fair. I'm not going to say who, because you probably guess. Not me, though, obviously, because I was sober. I think it is more that they want to stay in such a good dressing room, because everyone gets on like a little family in a way, and you're always keeping an eye out for each other. So it's a good place to be at the moment.
What would be a successful season next season? Do we need promotion, or just to consolidate, or personally, I just want to finish above heaven?
I mean, just going to have to see what happens. We don't know if there's going to be a little transitional phase. Obviously, Bobby was here for 5 years. Hopefully we can just hit the ground running and we can start the season like we started last season. And if we can start well, you never know what's going to happen. Obviously, there's a few more teams and a few different teams in the league that we don't know much about. But we've shown that there was only 2 or 3 teams that probably deserved to be above us last season. Obviously, Stockton was strong. They were very strong. Heppen have made a few signings. We don't know how they're going to gel or if they're going to be better than they were last season. We've got the 2 teams coming up. We've got a team coming down as well. Obviously, Cleethorpes were good last season, but we managed to beat them 3 times. Just have to see, really. We just need to play our own game and not really worry about anyone else, and see where it takes us. But we don't want to be any lower down than we were last season, because we want to try and push on, see where we can get to.
And you've got a new career outside of football with the police. How will this affect your football?
It will get in the way a little bit, I'm not going to lie, because obviously it's shift work. But I'm at the stage now where I need something a lot more permanent, a lot more secure. Obviously, the personal training was good for me because it means I could come here whenever I needed to or wanted to. But this is going to have to take priority a little bit. But you all know that I'll be here as often as I can be. If I'm not at work, I'll be here. So that's the main thing, really.
Is it a uniform job, really, or a suit and tie?
No. So, the first few weeks will be like on first response, so sort of like first on the scene of crime and stuff like that. But then I'll be moving into the detective side of it, so I'll be doing the solving of the crimes rather than getting hit and spat at all the time.
Isn't that the same as football?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I think it sounds like a pretty interesting job, so it'll be pretty cool to say that I'm a detective when I get asked about it in the future.
So how are you going to model yourself on? Colombo?
I've just started watching Luther again, so I'm not as angry as him, so I'm just gonna have to make my own way, basically.
Yeah, we'll see Bobby in Shildon, won't we?
Dixon's dog, right?
You were born at Hendon, is that right? And that's not the Hendon Sunderland, is it?
No, Hendon in London. I mean, I didn't go there much. We lived in Barnet. It just seems to be the hospital I was born in, I think. Yeah, born in Hendon, so that's a little police background there, sort of thing.
So in your younger days, did you support a team from that area?
No. My dad was from Sunderland, so I always used to be a Sunderland fan growing up anyway. I was the only kid in my school being a Sunderland fan, in North London. Went to a few Barnet games. They were in I think the equivalent League 2 now.
Stuart Niven wasn't playing with him?
Stuart Niven wasn't playing, no, not at the time. Then I also used to like Arsenal just because I used to model my game on Thierry Henry when I was younger. And they used to win everything as well, like win all the games and that. So I used to love watching them play. They had like got the swagger about them. So I used to enjoy watching them. Me nana's a Tottenham fan, so that doesn't go down well with her. But can't be helped.
And you just said you're a Sunderland fan now. Do you get to any games?
Not many. Obviously, I'm usually here on a Saturday. I managed to get to the playoff semi-final for the last 2 years, but I go when I can. I went to the Sheffield Wednesday game over Christmas. Louis Wing was at Sheffield Wednesday, so it was good to see him play. Obviously, we beat them 5-0, so it wasn't being the best game for him. And then obviously he's at Wickham when we beat them in the final. So we should just play him every week, I think. Yeah.
And back to the game at the Stadium of Light. You were in the home dressing room, so that must have been an experience for a Sunderland fan.
Yeah, I've played on the pitch before. We did like little kick-arounds, like with work, had to play on the pitch sort of thing. But obviously meant a lot more to be there for the team that I played for, like the last 10 years or so. But yeah, it's like I said, it was just good to be. The whole day was just class because I was just in my element basically, in my home, in my team that I support, stadium as well.
Is the Stadium of Light the biggest stadium you've played in?
I've played at St James's, which is slightly bigger.
It's a lot.
But I scored against the Max though, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I played at Ellen Road as well. Obviously, it's not as big. Played at like Huddersfield Stadium, John Smith Stadium, I think it's called now. So played a few big stadiums. St James is just the biggest, but there wasn't any fans in.
So what's the biggest crowd you played in front of?
Might have been Brighton. I'm not sure how many was there. I think they had more. It wasn't their new stadium; it was their older stadium. I'm not sure how many was there, but I came on there. I was on the bench when we played Leeds away on Boxing Day. There was 30,000 there, which was pretty surreal. But yeah, probably playing wise would probably be Brighton, but I couldn't tell you how many people were there at the time.
So it's a difficult one. Throughout your career, who was the best player you played with?
It's a tough one. I mean, at Hartlepool we had James Brown there, and he was a
singer, wasn't he?
He can sing as well, yeah. No, he was really good. Really talented. He struggled with injuries a lot as well, and I think that's probably why he didn't make as much of an impact as well. We had Adam Boyd there as well, who was a good player.
Came here for a while.
Yeah, Neil Aston, he was a fullback, he was a good player. Richie Humphries was there, he's a legend of the game. But yeah, it's a tough one. I've probably played with players who I didn't really take much notice of at the time, who might have gone.
Was Mickey Barron at Hartlepool when you were there?
He was a youth team coach, reserve coach, yeah. So I did know Mickey. We've had quite a lot of a Hartlepool connection here really. We've had obviously quite a lot of players who have played at Hartlepool. So I don't know what it is about it, but I seem to enjoy being children.
Have you ever been marked in the game by anybody famous?
I mean, I might have done.
Not as famous as you, Billy.
Well, obviously not. No. I mean, when we played Southampton, like they had big name players playing, and we went with them all the way to the Premier League. They had like Vadi Jaidi, who was like a massive like guy. He literally touched me once and I went flying. I won a free kick for it, like, but I went absolutely flying. I was like, I just thought I'd hit a brick wall. Adam Lallana was there. He was a good player. I mean, there will have been players that I played against who I can't. They might have gone on to be big, and I just haven't realised at the time. I've played against some good players, but.
So have you played with anybody who's made it right to the top?
Yeah. So when I was at Sunderland, I was with Jordan Henderson. He was a year above me, but we used to train with the same age group, so we were at the same. We were training together every Thursday basically. And they had quite a strong youth team. They had Jack Colback, who was there at the time. They had Martin Waghorn, who's made quite a good career as well out of it. So yeah, probably Jordan Henderson's gone on to make the most out of his career.
Was there any defenders in the Northern League that you didn't like to play against?
Usually just the aggressive ones, to be honest. But like usually the aggressive ones are slower, so I run past them. To be fair, I wouldn't want to play against Dom because he's just got arms and legs everywhere, and he's rapid as well.
Reads the game, well, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And he's like I say, if he doesn't read the game, he's quick enough to get back. But it's a tough one, really. Probably Adam Wheatley, who's at Mask. Usually I'll come home and I've got scratches all over my body off him because he just doesn't leave you alone. So he's probably the best centre back in the Northern League. Yeah.
Is there any young lads in our current squad you think could step up to professional football?
We haven't got many young lads at the moment, have we? I mean, obviously Matty, the keeper, he's doing really well whenever he's playing. Whether he can carry that on, he'll just have to keep going the way he's going and see what happens. Brandon's brilliant on the ball. Brandon Mallowan, he's brilliant technically. He hasn't really had his break in the first team yet, but we never know. He might be able to get that chance this season. But in training, he's fantastic. So again, with that one, you just have to wait and see. Obviously, Dom had his trials in the past, and then sort of died down a little bit. But you've seen this season, he's just been one of our key players. So, to be honest, the sky's the limit. If they keep progressing the way they're going, who knows what's going to happen, really.
How do you prepare on a match day? I mean, what do you eat, knowing that you've got a game at 3 o'clock?
Well, a lot of the time I was working on a Saturday morning for like doing me Pete. I had clients on a Saturday morning, so I'd literally just grab what I could. If I get a chance, I'd probably have beans on toast or something like that if I have a morning off. When we've got our longer journeys, that usually changes because I have to factor in the travel and stuff like that. So I usually have something smaller and then just get like a snack or something on the way down.
And we've mentioned you scored 170 goals for Shildon. Goals aside, is there any match that stands out in your memory where you performed your best 90 minutes performance?
It's another tough one. I generally don't tend to think I play very well in many games, but then usually the goals sort of hide, like paper over that in a way. It's a tough one. There's rarely a game I think I've played well, to be honest. I think there's one game we played against Spennymoor I think I played quite well against. Obviously there's a game we beat South Shields, I think it was 11-0. I think I scored 4 then. Yeah.
That was the days, wasn't it? South Shields was 11.
Yeah. So maybe that's one sticks in my head because I remember scoring quite a few then. It's a tough one really because, like I said,
Was there a cup games once did you score 5 or 6?
Yeah, Stokesley I scored 6. Yeah. Again, like I scored 6 goals. I probably
But
should
it
have
always
scored more.
happens.
Well, again, they weren't really. A couple of them were, but it's one of them where it's like I'm probably my biggest critic. So I'd have to have a remarkable game to think I've played well, basically.
You'll have played for a few managers in your time. Which would you say is the best tactics-wise?
I mean, my coach at Middlesbrough was Graham Jones, who is he at Newcastle still? I'm not sure if he's still there, but obviously he's gone on to have a good career in football. To be honest, I didn't rate him very much when I was there because I think we were 13, 14 at the time, and he says, 95% of footballers play for money, not for the love of the game. And I was like, I don't think you should be telling that like kids who really want the dream of being footballers sort of thing. But he's been the most successful out of it. Obviously we had Martin Gray come in and he brought a different dynamic of coaching, which had a bit of success at the start, but it was a quite sort of percentage-based football, I should say. And it's a tough one. Because the manager at Hartlepool, Chris Turner, he was a goalkeeper, and he sort of had his coach. Colin West was there at the time. He sort of did all his coaching sort of thing. I've sort of been managed quite a lot by man managers over my time, rather than like tactic-based managers. But to be fair to Bobby, he's the man manager. He's got the right people in when we were here, and if you get the right people in, sometimes the tactics sort of takes care of itself, sort of thing. So we didn't do a lot of tactic-based training, but because we all knew how to play football, basically it sort of worked in our favour in that regard, and we got success out of it.
Have you had any managers who you weren't impressed with? They just like picked the team and sent you out?
Yeah, Dickie Ord with Durham, which was pick your mates and see what happens, sort of thing. He's a Sunderland legend, and I like him and stuff. But it was like training would just be like 5-a-sides and stuff like that. It wasn't a lot go into it, sort of thing. Not to say like we were solid in the league above the Northern League at the time. So you can't really argue with that. We did have a good squad, you can't really argue with it. But he didn't really try and coach us, especially when his coach left. Like, he didn't really try and coach us, it was more just like, it felt like a good group of mates sort of playing together, sort of thing.
Do you have any plans to move into management stroke coaching when your playing career comes to an end?
Probably not. I don't know why. I think I probably miss it once I stop playing, but I think it is obviously living in Sunderland. It is quite a trek to come this far to Shildon, and I think the travel sometimes it's like it's a long way to go sort of thing. But I love it obviously when I'm here, and I think it's more the travelling that sort of puts me off a bit going into coaching. If I'm not playing, I'd sort of would I want to go just to watch sort of thing. Obviously, you'll get a different sort of sense of satisfaction from watching your team that you've created do well, and maybe that'll come in a few years. But if I'm not playing, I'm not sure whether I'd want to put the travel in that I'm putting in for playing. Because I'm at football club because I love to play, and I don't really get that same thing from coaching, so I'm not sure yet.
You might have answered this question earlier on tonight, but have you had any role models throughout your career?
Yeah. So Thierry Henry was my favourite when I was growing up. I used to try and model my game on him. Kevin Phillips as well, from Sunderland, because he just used to score goals for fun. Then equally, when I was growing up, I played centre midfield more than anything. I mean, at Middlesbrough, we sort of got moved around everywhere just so you get like more of a knowledge around football. So I think that's why I'm versatile as I am now. I can play in different positions, probably because of that time at Middlesbrough. I knew whenever I played up front, I'd try and be like Thierry Henry. I'd try and do the things that he does. So I think that's probably why you'll see us playing on the left more than the right, because I think that's probably what he used to do more.
Who's been the biggest influence on your career?
Yeah, it's got to be my dad, because he used to take me to all the games, take me to watch matches, take me to join matches, join football clubs and stuff like that. I know he's taken more of an interest in my football than my brothers, hasn't he? But yeah, probably him, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know, I didn't get any coaching when I was not at a club. He was the one who was coaching me, and we used to take my dog at the time down to the park, and it was one of them where if my first touch wasn't good, the dog's going to get the ball and bite at the bits. Or he's going to bite my ankle the bits. So it was a good way of working on my touch and everything like that, working on my technique. So yeah, probably my dad. But then equally, I see every coach I've had, I see them as sort of like a role model sort of, because you have to listen to them and you have to put across their way of playing and play how they want you to play. So you've got to get in that mindset basically that you've got that role model that you're playing for.
And on to your forthcoming testimonial, you've organised the whole thing yourself, so would you like to tell us all about it? So, I mean, I know we've all got flyers in here tonight, but Who will we be watching that day?
Yeah, so we're going to do, obviously, Shildon against sort of like Shildon's All-Stars team, Shildon Legend type team, so trying to get as many of the lads who I get on with the best probably over the last 10 years come back, play to form the other team. So yeah, we've got quite a good line. I'll have a look at this because I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, we've got Sam Garvey coming back obviously, so he played up front a lot with him, so he's a great player. Like, I don't know if he still is. I haven't seen him for a few years. Ben Wood as well should be coming back. So obviously we had quite a good bond together, the three of us up front, and it'd be good to see some friendly faces again. I think it'd be good for them to come back and see what it was like. Carl Jones as well, like, he's one of my close friends outside of the football. He'll be back. He definitely will be much slower than he was before because he hasn't been playing for a bit. I was going to try and get a couple of the lads who've gone forward back, but I think they'll not be allowed to come back out. They might be able to get along with the games, but we're going to have to see. So we've got obviously Louis Wing, Davy Ferguson. Maybe we let them come along. We'll just have to wait and see for that one. But yeah, a lot of it's bringing back my mates who I used to play with, who I got on best with, and a lot of it's bringing back a few legends too.
You're doing a dicky yard, aren't you?
He's not invited, unfortunately. He's got no ties to Shildon yet.
And just before I finish, mate, I'm going to ask you the Soccer AM teammates questions. You know how that goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just ask you a load of questions and every single answer is one of your teammates.
Good.
Who's the best trainer?
Probably Shea, because he uses class when he's on the ball. Can't get the ball off him sometimes. Posty as well is very good on training. Because I think it's for me because I try and tackle them. They're just really small and they just change direction really quick. Just trying to keep up with them basically.
Who's the worst trainer?
Dino.
We'll just say Dino. I mean, he's fine. he's a good trainer, but sometimes he doesn't put all his what we know he can put in the training sometimes. But he has a hard day at work sometimes. It's probably do.
Who's the quickest?
I'd probably say Dom is just slightly quicker than Posty. Will was quite quick, but probably Dom. He's just got that bear watch run that he does, doesn't he? He sticks his chest out. Runs like a Terminator.
Who's the slowest?
I'm going Alex White with that one. But he reads the game so well, he doesn't need to be quick, does he? We call him the Viking as well, because he looks like a
You're not scared of annoying him? I just mentioned, I think, who's the hard man?
Probably Al, yeah, but he's a giant. He's a gentle giant, really. He just gets a bit angry sometimes, especially. Yeah, he got a bit angry at Osset. I remember. I don't know what that was about. Get him on the bus, give him a little cuddle. He's no
somebody in the crowd called him a dinosaur.
Yeah, I know.
That's what he got angry about.
Yeah. He is no bother. Yeah, like I say, he's no bother. He's just probably a grumpy old man sometimes.
Who's the most skillful?
Probably say Posty again, Joe Postal. Tricky, quick on his feet. He does always do the same trick with let's step over then go on his weak foot, which we don't really understand. So we put him on the left and then he goes on his left foot again. I think he thinks people watch him, like watch videos of him, he's like, oh, he always goes on his right. But if they watched him, they'll know he always goes on his left. Maybe he's start going on his right, so they'll let him do it.
He's a difficult one for you. Who's the most intelligent?
Kurt Matthew? No.
I'm pretty sure we're going to answer the next question.
There's a few to be fair. Dom's seems to have a good job. Posty's obviously learnt a lot for his physio work. Aidan's physio / chiropractor, so he's very intelligent. It's probably going to have to be me though.
Here you go then, Billy. Who's the least intelligent?
I will say Kurt, but he's more switched on than you think. Like, he's definitely, I think he just gets confused sometimes.
We met Kurt down the street at the weekend and he had 2 dogs up and the dogs had the same fringe as him.
Yeah, neither of them will be his, the others just found them.
Who's the best dressed?
It's probably me again, you know, I do dress well. But apart from me,
You're the only bloke I can imagine can get away with wearing a pink jacket.
yeah, no one else would try. We went out on Christmas and everyone else was in all black. I was like, what's the point? You're not going to get seen in the club. It's pitch black anyway. Sweetie usually looks after himself. Michael Sweet. Alex looks after himself as well. Dresses well. I think it's probably me as well.
Who's got the worst dress sense?
It's a tough one because people go really safe, like so they don't get worse dress comments labelled on them. We'll go with Dom.
Poor Dom. Who's the team joker?
Beware, Trotter's tried a joker. He usually takes it out on Cragsy though, so I don't know what he's going to be doing next season. Cragsy just gets things hidden in his bag all the time. Frozen mice. Frozen naan bread, anything frozen. He needs to check the freezer beforehand, so make sure nothing's getting put in his bag. But you always put 3 or 4 things in, because when you find the first thing, he thinks that's it. And then he doesn't realise there's like oranges in his shoes and stuff. So him or Posty, Aidan. There's a few. Everyone pretty much puts the jokes in. To be fair, like it's not like labelled at one person really.
So you're going to say yourself again, I know you are. Who's the best dancer?
Yeah, it's next question. It's me. No spiel needed there. If everyone's drunk, they just stumble in more than anything. I've got moves.
And we see him.
After Testimonial, we come to Durham.
Who's the worst dancer?
I'm going to say Kurt again, mainly because he gets drunkest the quickest. And he just stands on the dance floor and shouts. Shout laughs, like he shouts with the loudest laugh ever, or like his tongue's out and everything. He's just stood there putting it into people using it as momentum. So it's going to be Kurt again, yeah.
Who's your best mate in the squad? Who'd you get on with?
That makes you look good.
I'm one of them. I'll talk to everyone, so I'll talk to a lot of them outside of it. Possibly Aidan. I met up with him a few times. We take our dogs for walks together sometimes. It's possibly Aidan. But like I say, I wouldn't want to single anyone out because I get on with them all so well, really.
Which one of them do you think could be a future manager?
I think Shea definitely could. Alex, I think he would as well. Whether he'd want to, I'm not sure, but I think he'd be a very good manager. Aki's got the knowledge, but I don't think he'd want to talk.
We've had him in here, but he didn't talk anything like you, did he?
No, he's sound. I think he's a quiet lad. But you hear him on the pitch, which is the most important. So I think you'd be able to take that into management if you wanted to. Whether you want to, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably Shea. Try to maybe dip his toe into it a little bit, but don't know whether he'd be very good at it or not.
Who gets the most squad fines?
Well, it's Dino.
He can afford them, can
He can afford them, yeah. I think a lot of the lads towards the end of the season get fined accidentally so that they can build up the kitty a bit more. And I'm just very anti getting fined because I don't want to part with any money, especially because I won't get a bigger cut out of it. Drink money because I'm only having Diet Cokes and then so I don't want to pay for their night out too much.
Yeah.
Who's always late?
To be fair, we're quite good with that now. Dino did go through a stage of being late quite a bit, and so did Aidan, Sean and Boxy. So I've always refrained from getting in the car school with them because I don't want to be late all the time. But just means spending more money on petrol, so I may as well. But yeah, to be fair, we're quite good at that now. Probably Dino if I had to pick anyone, but he's usually on time.
Thank you very much, mate. We're just going to have a break now to do the raffle and such, and then I'm going to hand you over to this raffle. Could ask you anything, mate.
No worries.
Thank you. Well, it's time now for anybody else wants to ask Billy any questions. Just put your hand up and I'll give you the mic.
One in there.
Hey, please.
What language you asking this in?
Are you ready, Billy?
Yeah.
It's not a question as such. It's just, I remember up with Bedlington, you were the one player that was inconsolable in the clubhouse. And that just goes to show what you feel about this club. And we all appreciate that. I'd just like to say that.
Anybody else want to ask a question?
Up at Bedlington, no, up at Billingham Town, you were told off Gary Forrester when you came off the bench. You scored a hat trick, you'd get a bonus. Did you ever get that when you scored it?
Yeah, 20 quid. I was skint as well at the time, so it was helpful.
You are, in a second.
Billy, you play up front and quite often you've got your back to the opposition goal, so you can say our goal quite a bit. Which is the best goalie at Shildon in your career? We've had a few decent ones and a few iffy ones. Who's your favourite?
I think we've been, to be fair, while I've been here, I think we've been quite lucky with our goalkeepers. Sean probably was one of the best goalkeepers in the league last season. His shot stopping's fantastic. His kicking's really good as well, and he's got a Cruyff turn in him, which he does every week. So I'll remember that for when we play them next year. And then to be fair, I thought Nick Liversidge was really good. I think he was just, he's at Bishop now obviously, he was just quite quiet, and I think that's why he ended up leaving it in the end, because the manager, I think Gaz at the time, wanted someone who was a bit louder. We've moved on from having Lewis Graham, who literally just shouted all game, like you never hear him not talking. And maybe where he was lacking, where others were better, like they kept the people in front of him on point really and kept them focused. I'll say Sean, because I think we've moved up the league and he's shown that he can cut it at this level. And I think quite a lot of people doubted him in a way as well, so I think he's come through that really well. And he was a big part of our season last year.
Any more questions? Anybody?
Vicky did such a good job, but not you. The game at Bishop when we won the league, we haven't touched them that much tonight, unless I fall asleep.
What I asked Greulich was about the game at Bishop Auckland when we won the league. There was plenty of people drunk in here that night. What was it like watching everybody absolutely bladdered when we'd won the league and you were being stone cold sober?
To be honest, I can't really remember much about after it. I remember the game quite well because obviously Mask and Gisborough were playing each other, weren't they? But they'd started an hour early. So I think we were 2-0 at half time, and we knew that the results had gone our way, so that if we won that game we were going to win the league at half time. And I mean, a lot of teams could have maybe let the pressure get to them, but the group of lads that we had sort of just went into professional mode and we just saw the game out really easily. Good place to get the win as well. Bishop obviously means a lot to the fans and that, to beat them and win the league at the same place. Yeah, it's a good deal all around, I think.
Billy, is that the same, winning the league then and getting promotion now to the Northern Premier League East Division? Is that the same, do you think?
I don't. It's a tough one because I think every year we've been in the Northern League, it's been really competitive. There's been 2 or 3 or 4 teams sometimes who could have won. You could have made a case for them to win the league, except for the year we won it because I think we were quite far ahead, weren't we? But yeah, it's a tough one. I think we definitely deserved to go up. I know it ended up being by points per game, but we think the season when it got curtailed, we were on the trail ahead, and we were in such good form as well. It just hit us at the worst time for the pandemic to hit. So I think, I don't know, it's a tough one because I think we would have probably won the league that year if it hadn't been curtailed. And then the second year, obviously Stockton were really far ahead when that got stopped. It's a tough one. I think we had such a good squad the year we won the league. Like, I know Gary would have spent a lot of money on players.
But we didn't go up that season. Were you disappointed that we didn't go up? Or was it something that was like...
Not particularly, because I knew how hard it would have been for one team to go up, because I was at Durham when there was only us in that league, and the travel must have cost them a fortune. That's ultimately why they took relegation, because they couldn't afford the travel. So I knew that it was going to be tough for one team to go up by themselves and survive financially. It's the way that goes. It's different to professional, because they've got the money, they've got the sponsorship and everything. It's difficult to do that here. But when we had 3 teams go up and they regionalised the league as well, it was ideal for us, and it was a perfect timing really. It would have been nice to be rewarded with winning the league by going up, but we knew all along that we weren't going up, so it wasn't hard to take or anything like that.
One more?
Who's the best karaoke singer in the squad?
Not you.
It is me, but I'm not in the squad.
We've got a few good singers, to be fair. Dino can sing. It's a bit of a shout, but he can sing. Posty's got the guitar going for him. He's a good singer. He's started doing his own Jamie Howard thing, releasing videos on Twitter about players. Sweet, he loves his Elton John.
Don't believe you talked about it.
I do sing quite a lot, but like not properly. Oh, well, we had a sing along on the way here, didn't we? Had Beyonce on. I don't know whether I'd be on the microphone singing and stuff like that, but I sing quite a lot just in the dressing room, just while I'm walking around. So it's up to people whether they think I'm any good on that.
Any more before I let him go?
Wilf, Dave.
That's it.
Billy is a tall striker or centre forward, whatever you want to call yourself. Who over the last 10 years has been your favourite provider of goals? I mean, myself, I think back to like Sam Garvey and Robbo, and currently Aiden as somebody who could supply a good quality ball into the box, whether it's a cross or a ball across the face of the goal for you to run to.
I mean, to be fair, Sam loved scoring the goal. So a lot of times where you get in a position to cross, he'd try and score. I think that's maybe why I didn't score as many back then. But like I said, I don't really mind about the goals. Ben Wood was really good setting up goals for me. I think he'd get a bit frustrated that he was only setting them up sort of and not scoring as many as he did. Jamie Harwood had a class cross on him. Obviously we saw that in the Challenge Cup final. And I think Louis Wingner's last season here, I think the amount of goals either I set him up or he set me up just seemed to be every game. Either he'd set me up or I'd set him up, whether from corners or from play. And you know the quality he's got, like from free kicks and deliveries, like he's taking corners like professionally now, so obviously it's going to result in loads of goals at this level as well. And Aidan, really good. gets down the wing. Sometimes I wish he'd cross more, but I know on certain pitches it's hard to cross the ball like when you want to, because it's just going to bobble and go anywhere. So it's a tough one, but I know he knows he's looking for me. And as well, Zach Atkinson, when he was here, to be fair, I knew when he's running down the left, he's going to cut back and knock it to the back, stick where I was going to be. And we had that little bond and we played quite well together, I think. So it's a shame to see him go in a way.
Any more? Paul Engo?
One.
Any second?
So Billy, you've mentioned a few strikers that you've played with and who've set you up in this and the other, but out of the 10 years you've been here, who would you say has been the best strike partner you've played with?
I'd probably have to go with Ben. We always had a little laugh when we get let out in the dressing room, like Bill and Ben up front. I've known Ben for years. Like before he came on, I think he came on trying at Hartlepool when I was there, so I knew him from that. I knew of him anyway, and I was just surprised when he went from. I think he walked out of training at Sunderland, didn't he? Just because he didn't like Kevin Ball or something, and just ended up at Newton Aycliffe. And I was like, he's such a good player. I don't know why that's happened. But yeah, probably Ben. Obviously, Paul Connor was here, and I learned a lot from Paul Connor. He's been everywhere and done what he's done. He'll be back as well for the testimonial, so it'll be nice to see him. He's a lovely guy as well. I learned a lot from him, and I think he rates me as a player as well, which is nice to know because, like I say, he's played really high level, so it's nice to know. But yeah, probably the two of them. But I get on with all. I like playing with all the strikers, to be honest, and a lot of the time I'm up by myself, so it's a bit lonely sometimes. But yeah, it's I've been lucky to be with some good players over the past 10 years.
Anybody else? Give the lad a round of applause.